group, but I'm very proud to be here. I can't believe a Republican group in JP. I didn't think it would be possible. I mean, how many floors of concrete do we have above us? It's a miracle. It's a miracle, right? And I'm happy to be here. So I'll say, let me start out by saying that as a candidate, I'm the Republican candidate for U.S. Congress in the new 8th District, and I'm going to explain what the new 8th is, because I think it's important to talk about all the different changes. But at a 10,000 feet view level, I'm a graduate of WPI and the Kennedy School we just talked about. I'm a U.S. Navy veteran, and I'm an entrepreneur, a guy who started a company called Plaster Fun Time. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's a drop-in painting place for kids. It's a great foil for the joke I always get. The question I get when I'm out on the campaign trail is, how are you going to go to Washington with all the bickering and all the name-calling? How are you going to go sort that out? I said, for the last 17 years, I've been dealing with nothing but 5-year-olds, so who better than me for the job? So, to give you a sense of what I'm all about, I grew up in a small town and from a very service-oriented family. My grandparents came here 70 years ago with $8 in their pocket, and they came giving up everything that was familiar for everything that was possible. I remember sitting on my grandfather's knee when he said, "This is the greatest country in the world. We owe a great debt of gratitude." So from the beginning, my family always was about public service. My mom was a Sunday school teacher, my dad taught Little League, my brother was on the rescue squad. So for me, this country we owe a great debt to this country. For that reason, and among other reasons, that I joined the U.S. Navy when I was young and served during the first Gulf War. I still remember like it was yesterday sitting in my office. I date myself with this remark watching Deborah Norville on the Today Show. I don't know if everybody else remembers Deborah Norville, when I saw that Iraq had invaded Kuwait.
Pre-Katie.
Yeah, that pre-Kate, right. And that was on August 2nd. I remember that like it was yesterday. It was a Monday. And by August 8th, a Friday, I was unloading my sea bag off of a helicopter in Cyprus. So I was there for the first 4 months of what was supposed to be the mother of all battles. So when you lay your life on the line, it gives you an opportunity to reflect and say, what's it all about? Is this great country worth fighting, perhaps even dying for? And for me, that answer has always been yes. You raise your hand when you're in the military, and you swear an oath to the Constitution to defend and protect, and that oath doesn't have an expiration date. So when I came back, I had to find my way and find out how I was going to, in a sense, give back for the rest of my life. How was I going to serve my country? For a while I was in software, but always thinking about a way to really change the world. For me, 17 years ago, that came when we came up with the idea of Plaster Fun Time. Sounds like a simple idea. Kids come in and paint plaster figurines. But I say it's a profound idea insofar as kids come in thinking they're great artists and leave absolutely certain that they're great artists. So it's a sense of giving children a sense of accomplishment and building their self-esteem by being successful through creativity. So what was a crazy idea 17 years ago now has grown to a business that hosts nearly 10,000 kids' birthday parties. We're all over Massachusetts. And those little figurines that the kids paint, we actually manufacture in a factory in Somerville. So we do everything from retail all the way to manufacturing. So I can tell you, as a guy who's created jobs here in Massachusetts, we run the whole gamut. I've got about 60 employees sign the front of their paycheck every Friday.
Did you have a place in Harvard Square, or do you still have one?
No, those are ceramic places, and those, I think there was actually one in JP for a while, and those are primarily adult-oriented places. Ours are high volume. To give you a sense of how high volume, each store in the chain has about 600 kids a week come through it. So it's a very frenetic, energetic place, where, as I say, we're doing 10,000 kids' birthday parties a year. So why do I tell you about Plaster Fun Time? Well, there's a couple reasons. One is I didn't pick the kid business out of a hat. For me, kids are our future. I don't know, I can't speak for everybody here in the audience, but when you close your eyes and think about what really matters, I think we hope that what we deliver to the next generation is what our parents gave to us, a great nation, one that we can prosper in. So when you work around children, it gives you a connection to the future. We have a family joke attributed to my sister that I think illustrates my perspective on economics, or perhaps hers, or perhaps our Congress, when I say she was in a toy store with my mom, and she wanted a doll, like any child would. My mom said, "No, you know, Laura, we can't afford that. I'm sorry, you can't have the doll. She said, don't worry, Mom, don't use money, just write a check. So what I would say is that's the perspective our current Congress has. Just write a check if you don't have the money. Now, when you work around children, you realize they're counting on you for their future. They put their trust in your hands. What I'd say is we should reflect on what we've done with that trust. The last 4 years, we've borrowed more than $1 trillion of their money. Last year alone, 2011, we borrowed $1.6 trillion. Now, I don't know if everybody here in the room knows what a trillion is. It sounds like a billion. It rhymes with a million, but it's a big number. So I say, to put it in perspective, $1.6 trillion, to compare it to the tsunami in Japan, that was almost a little more than a year ago, that leveled cities and washed them away with a tidal wave and had a nuclear meltdown. The cost of that event last year for Japan was $300 billion. So to put in perspective, our country borrowed more than 5 tsunamis in 1 year alone. So that should make the hair on the back of your neck stand up. For me, it's one of the reasons I've decided to run for Congress. The second reason I tell you about Plaster Fun Time is I think this campaign and my campaign has to be about jobs and getting Americans back to work. We often hear about our unemployment rate, 8.3%. That's enormous. It's been that way for more than 40 months now, I think 41 months. I think a more important number is our underemployment rate, what economists sometimes call the U6, which is how many people can't find enough work. That's 15%. That's almost 1 in 6 Americans can't find enough work for their families. For me, that's got to end. And I'd say as a small business owner, and for the record, small businesses create 3 out of every 4 jobs in America. If we want to get Americans back to work, we have to look towards small business owners like me to find out what's wrong.